Hey guys, it's Stephanie. It's like 12-ish. On the first day of the BookTube-A-Thon, I honestly thought it started tonight, and it started last night. So I apologize for the 2 posts in one day. Anyway, I'm using my iPhone mic. Hopefully it'll work a little bit better. I noticed the last time there was kind of this weird clicking sound that was relevant in the video, even though it wasn't there when I was doing the video, but after the video and after I uploaded it, of course it shows up. So I apologize for that. I don't really know what went on with it, but moving on. Okay, so purpose of this. I finished this book. Sort of. No, I mean, I really did finish it. It's just, okay. There were some things that I didn't like about this book, and I don't know if it's just because I'm older now that I read it. I think the first time I read that book was when I was like in 5th or 6th grade. So I was like 11 or 12, and I remember loving it because she was just always so calm, and she had a tendency to just really be a princess even though she was in rags. But there was some parts of the book now, as I'm reading it, you know, at 30, there were just some points of it where I had to wonder if the author actually thought of what she was thinking, what she was doing. I was really confused on some of it, not because of the plot, okay? I still enjoy the process of this book. I just don't like the characters. A lot. Okay, let's just take it very slowly. Well, quickly though, because I don't want it to be too long. Okay, first thing is that spoilers. Okay, if you have not read this book, don't watch this video. Mainly because there are going to be spoilers, and I'm sorry. Anyway, first off, father dies. Okay, she's very wealthy, like to the extreme of wealthiness, and the author makes a point several times to say she has a sweet disposition, and if it had been any other girl, then she would have been insufferable because she's just, you know, she's amazing and she's awesome and she's good. And I'm sorry, I have a problem liking people who are too good. Like poor Fanny Price of what is that, Mansfield Park? Yeah. I can't stand Fanny Price. I also can't stand Sarah Cruz. She's just too good. And it's like the author really didn't give her much dimension besides being good. There were a few times when she had a breakdown, but that was about it, and it was just really annoying. I wasn't thrilled with this book. There were still very good morals, but I felt like the author kind of skimmed over some important things. And I also felt like she really didn't think out some things either. Case in point being, her father dies, she's a pauper, yada yada yada. Last 2 chapters, she gets introduced to this like random Indian guy. Like that's literally what she calls him. The Indian gentleman. I just couldn't even focus on that. I was like, really? You can't even find out his name? And then she gave like nicknames to another family called the Large Family. Not because they were big, but because they had a lot of children. Okay then. Anyway, and so she meets this random Indian gentleman, and he ends up being her father's friend who lost all his money in the diamond mines, which actually did exist. And now that he is like almost better, he wants to adopt Sarah because, you know, Captain Crew died. And so he wants to adopt Sarah and have her live with him. Okay. I could see that happening possibly. Okay. Possibly. If he were married. If he were a married gentleman, friend of the family, I could see that happening, even in that time period. However, he is not married, and he is a single gentleman, and she's maybe 11, maybe 12 at this time. So she's still young. And he's going to take her in. He doesn't even talk about adopting. He just says, come live with me. So my question is what is going on with this person? Because honestly, you can't do that. Not even in this culture can you do that. I mean, that would be like, people would be calling the police and being like, hey, something's going on because this guy's young, way older. He's like 30s, and he's taking a young 12-year-old. Okay, it wouldn't be a good thing, even if, you just couldn't do that. And it didn't make sense to me of how she just all of a sudden brought this guy in, and, ooh, here we go. Conclusion. Second thing that annoyed me was Sarah, when she became rich again, kind of seemed really, for lack of a better word, likable. She kind of seemed lorded over it. It's like, oh yeah, now I'm rich, haha. And then the ending like threw me, because the ending didn't actually end. It's just talking about, hey, you're gonna watch me get off in the carriage with the Indian gentleman. Again, exactly what she calls him. And we're gonna have a great time. I found myself being more annoyed at the writing than I did at anything else. Oh, and I was annoyed at Sarah. I know we're supposed to feel sorry for her, but I was annoyed at her because she seemed to have this great self-control that even adults don't really have, that I've known. I've known so many adults that don't even have this level of self-control that she seemed to have. For example, Miss Minchin, who is the teacher, came over to her one day and boxed her ears. Okay. Standard response for a kid to be hit is not to stand there and say, I was wondering what it would be like if I were actually a princess and you did this. No. Standard response for a kid, if you're going to come at them and you hit them, they're either going to scream, they're going to cry, they're going to melt, they're going to bleed, they're going to do something. They're not going to stand there and say, I was wondering what it would be like if I were actually a princess. In case you can't tell, I did not like the character of Sarah Grew. I liked Becky, who was the coal maid. I even liked Miss Minchin, because at least she stayed true to character. I felt like Sarah really didn't stand task. I would give this book probably 3 out of 5 stars. I would probably read it again, and I would probably recommend girls to read it, because it does have a very good message. I just feel like maybe the author shouldn't have gone into so much detail on some of Sarah's stories and really focused more on the ending and conclusion of said stories. But that's just me. Okay, and then part of the BookTube-A-Thon, our challenge, I have to find my list. Our challenge for the videos is to name the top 3 books that we started watching because of BookTube. Well, to be honest, I haven't seen very many BookTube channels, and what I did, it was mainly because, hey, you watch this, and so I would watch them, but I didn't really know any of them. So, but my top 3 that I have been recommended by BookTube people who they sounded really interesting. I unfortunately don't know the channels or who recommended them. So if you recommended these books in the past year, comment below and just let me know, hey, that was me, and then I can give you proper credit in the next video or whatever. So anyway, the first one was Mr. Penumba's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. Now, I cannot give away too much on this book. I can tell you that the cover glows. Yeah, seriously glows in the dark, and if you are not expecting that, it freaks you out at 2:30 in the morning to wake up and a book is glowing by your bed. Freaked me out, at least. Okay, basically, this one is a 24-hour bookstore. Title, spoiler. And it's about this guy who, they're trying to solve this giant scavenger hunt. It was interesting because it was very complexly written. The problem I had with it were I really wasn't even sure what the scavenger hunt was for. So it's kind of obscurely written, basically. So I was very confused on some of the things because they were talking about, you know, oh, this is how we found out and this is what we did. And I'm like, I have no clue where you came up with that. So it might have been that I was just reading it really fast and I didn't understand it. But on the same point, I have no idea. I'm sorry. But anyway, it was a really interesting read. And so if you like complex books, I would definitely recommend that. The second one I was recommended to was Wanderlove by Kristen Hubbard. This is really like a girl who's always done things normally, always been in curfew, always done whatever everybody else wants. And she decides to take a trip and to be a global vagabond. And this is really a young adult. It's not usually what I read. But it was an interesting read. It was set mostly in Belize and Bali, and so I like those places, so it was kind of interesting. The problem I had with that one was it was a little too predictable. But it's young adult. I mean, you're going to kind of come across that in that genre all the time. Oh, I also didn't like the guy that was supposed to be the romantic interest. I was like, I would have never dated him, but okay. Spoilers. No, seriously, you do need to check it out, especially if you like travel, if you like, if you feel like you've been stuck in a routine. It's a good beachy read is really what it is. And the last one is Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. This is by Rachel Cohen and David Lathan. This is a good book. I was surprised how much I actually liked this book. It begins with a scavenger hunt in Strand. It's set in New York City around Christmas time, but it's Christmassy without being too cliche-ish. And so each chapter is told from either Dash or Lily's point of view, which is fantastic because I love when they give me both sides of the story without it being too cliche. Lily basically starts a scavenger hunt with a red Moleskine. Dash follows, and then he starts leaving her clues. And it's really fun because they don't actually meet until they meet after a really bad decision that Lily makes, and you'll just have to read the book to find out. They also wrote Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and I actually, out of the two of them, I actually like Dash and Lily's better than Nick and Nora's. Nick and Nora's I liked, but I felt like they were too music oriented, whereas this one is more bookish. They even use the word bookish, and I really like that. I like the fact that they were using a lot of big words and didn't have to explain them. It was kind of nice. For a young adult book, it was actually surprisingly mature in some of the things, and then it was also immature. So, you know, you had high school romance. So it was a good read. I definitely liked that. I would recommend it. So yeah, that's day one of BookTube-A-Thon. Tomorrow I work almost all day, so my update will be late again. Anyway, hope your night is going great. Hope you have been reading a ton, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.